Hello, 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 and welcome back to another live stream on high altitude investing. Today is the 6th of February 2026, and I'm super excited to be talking about how the fact that the crypto crash is over. We are starting a massive bull market. Everything that I've been talking about with crypto is going to happen. The big picture cycle is starting. All of the profits that all of you guys have been waiting for, looking for, and really getting excited about are going to happen very soon. In fact, this is the bottom of the drop on Bitcoin and for the rest of the markets as well if you're an altcoin holder. So this is a pretty exciting time to be alive. This is one of those points in the cycle where I couldn't be more excited about what's coming for crypto. We're going to run over all of the major factors, all of the reasons that crypto is so bullish, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish on the crypto markets, and I'm super excited. So let's go ahead and share this link here. Also, we'll be covering all of your favorite coins as we always do. And yeah, I'm excited to do this. So let's go ahead and pull up TradingView, and we'll start off with Bitcoin and talk about what's coming for crypto. So let's pull up Bitcoin here. It's up over 11% in the last 24 hours. We had a pretty big panic here the other day. Pretty big crash right here. People really panicked as it fell from 77 down to 60,000 per coin right here. And we had a good strong bounce off of that level and capitulation volume. So if you look right here, we had a big spike in volume at the bottom of the crash right here on Bitcoin, where we had a big increase in volume, and we just recently had a big increase in volume on Bitcoin right here as well. So that's a pretty typical capitulation type volume spike there on Bitcoin, and a really, really good sign for the crypto markets. What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. How to paint your car. Thank you for tuning in. What's up? Josh says, man, glad to be hearing your voice. Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here and excited for what the future holds for crypto. What makes you so sure the bottom is in? It's pretty simple. There's a lot of factors. One of the things is the fear and greed index. If you pull up the fear and greed index, right now we're at a 9. This is the lowest the fear and greed index has been since the bottom in 2022. So you're talking about when Bitcoin was worth 16,000 per coin. The fear and greed index is now lower than when Bitcoin was worth $16,000 per coin. So this is super, super obvious that we're not overbought. We're not starting a bear market. The crash already happened. The big crash that everybody thinks is going to happen, that everybody's saying Bitcoin's going to go down to like 30K or even 50K or lower, it's already happened. The crash has already happened. We're at extreme fear on the fear and greed index. This is like the most undervalued crypto has been since here. We're talking this bottom right here. Crypto hasn't been this undervalued since this point in the cycle in 2022. So we're extremely undervalued for the crypto markets right now in an extremely profound way. This is like the perfect opportunity to be buying a bunch of crypto at dirt cheap prices down here in preparation for a full-blown bull market. We're talking Bitcoin going back over 126,000, all of the big picture cycles on all of the altcoins breaking out, going to the moon. We're talking a full-blown bull market for crypto. That's exactly what these charts are showing. So get ready for some big things coming for the crypto markets. This is the best possible opportunity that you could possibly have down here to be buying crypto. The best. Again, it's like buying Bitcoin down here at 16K. Equally as good of an opportunity to be buying crypto right now. I know Bitcoin hit 60K up here, not 16K, but in terms of being undervalued or overvalued, this point right here is just as undervalued as this point right here was in relation to our current cycle. So you're talking about extremely good opportunity to be buying Bitcoin, to be buying altcoins, to be buying whatever you want to buy down here at these prices. It's just a perfect opportunity. Future Dreams, hello Dallin Bro from India. How to keep up on the bullish dip and dip market. You know, just buy. Seriously, if you want to make money in these markets, just buy. Is my screen sharing for you guys? Can you guys see my screen fine? Okay, cool. Yeah, you can. So, yeah, just buy the dip. That's literally all that you have to do. The smartest, the best investors, the people that make the most money in these markets, they buy the dip. When there's blood in the streets, when the fear and greed index is an extreme fear, like it was right here, when Bitcoin was worth $16,000 per coin, what are the best, most profitable investors doing? They're buying the dip. That's what they're doing. And this has been the most effective strategy for me as well. When Bitcoin hit 3,000 per coin, 80% of people, 90% of people were calling for $1,000 per coin on Bitcoin. But this point right here is a very similar situation is what we currently see with the crypto market. So this is a perfect opportunity. I cannot stress that enough, to be buying crypto down here. Dirt cheap price across the board. All of your favorite altcoins, everything, super dirt cheap. Also check this out. So just zooming in here on Bitcoin, if we pull up Bitcoin on the 4-day time frame first, and then we'll zoom in just a second. If you look at Bitcoin here, this is an expanded flat correction. This is textbook Elliott wave right here. This is actually the same thing that happened right here, by the way. That's an expanded flat correction. So this is a huge buy signal for crypto to see that big expanded flat correction on Bitcoin. And you can see this pretty easily because there's 5 waves up right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you have to have some type of Elliott wave correction. Crypto in the past has done zigzag corrections like this. In 2018, it did a zigzag correction. But in this case, we had an expanded flat Elliott wave correction on Bitcoin. So that's a perfect opportunity to be buying Bitcoin down here. We're at 69K right now, but in relation to our 126,000, you know, we lost almost $100,000 in the price of Bitcoin. This is such a good time to buy. It's stupid. Zooming in on Bitcoin a little bit as well, look at all this capitulation volume. This is a massive capitulation volume spike for Bitcoin. A perfect place to buy. This is the same thing that happened right here at 50K per Bitcoin, when Bitcoin had a capitulation spike in volume, when it came down to 50K, before going all the way up to 126,000. So it's so clear. Like, if you have an understanding of technical analysis, if you understand the way that these markets move, looking at Bitcoin right now is like the most clear, obvious opportunity ever. I'm going to go get some water and be right back, but make sure that you guys are sending your requests for your favorite coins in the chat, and I'll be happy to cover all of your favorite altcoins. But I'll be right back. I got to get some water. We also have bullish divergence forming here as well. You can see this higher low on the MACD with a big lower low in price. So here's a big lower low like this, and then a big higher low on the MACD. That's like perfect bullish divergence as well. So there's more than just the expanded flat. There's more than just the fear and greed index. We also have the MACD signaling a very strong bullish divergence as well. So that's a huge buy signal as well. So there's literally just thing after thing after thing telling us that this is a good time to be buying Bitcoin. But then if you go to like to X, or if you go to TradingView, or if you really go anywhere else, you're going to see a bunch of people calling for like 30K or like really, really low targets on Bitcoin. Just stuff that it's definitely not going to do. So that's a perfect example of what market sentiment should look like when it's a good buying opportunity. You want to see everybody bearish, and then you want to see like a perfect buy signal appearing, but then the crowds are all bearish at the same time. And that's exactly what we see here with Bitcoin at these prices. Perfect example of a perfect buying opportunity, like textbook in every single way. So it looks really good, you guys. Appreciate your alpha and insights for PulseChain, Hex, and the macro. Thank you. Well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you too, Benny. Tam says, love your streams, Dallin. Well, thank you, Tam. I appreciate you tuning in to today's stream. Thomas says, here comes the moon song. You know, I might have to play it towards the end of the stream and play a little bit of guitar for you guys. Operation Shutdown says, hello, Dallin. Thanks for streaming today. Well, thank you for tuning in. Rapid says, hey, Dallin. Well, hey, thank you for tuning in. Hey, man, I've been going real hard on theta. How many shares do you think I should strive to get to? I need a goal number. You know, that's so dependent on your income. It's not really something where I can just be like, well, you should have 100,000 shares in theta. You know, like, it's so dependent on how much money that you can afford to invest that it's not really, I can't really just give a clear answer without like knowing more details about what your situation looks like. But the more the merrier. I can tell you that you should be being greedy right now. You should be buying as much as possible. It's so clear to me that this is a perfect time to be buying altcoins across the board, theta, like everything. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's ridiculous. This reminds me exactly of the 2018 bottom on Bitcoin at 3K, or even the bottom at 16K per Bitcoin in 2022. It's just so similar. It's crazy. Love the channel. As far theta, do you think you'll see theta topping at $15 to $22 for wave 3 with a huge correction, which could possibly be a top for Bitcoin at 140 to 150K? So that's one of those things where I do have a big picture target for theta. My minimum big picture target is $55 per theta coin. So it's kind of like as the market goes forward, you'll have to see how that connects to the price of Bitcoin. Early on like this, we can't just say, oh, once Bitcoin's at 150K, then theta will be at $22 and it'll be the top of a local peak. Like, that's not really how it works. You can get a big picture target for theta. You can get a big picture estimated target for Bitcoin because it's all estimations when it comes to targets anyways. And then you buy when it's dirt cheap like this, and you scale out along the way up on your way to your target, and then you've traded the market successfully. You've gotten yourself in on the dip, and then you've scaled out into the euphoria. But fact of the matter is, early on like this, you can't just say, well, once Bitcoin's, you know, at 140K and theta's at the top of wave 3, like, it's too speculative to be that crazy with it. But you can say, without a doubt, that Bitcoin is stupid undervalued, and same with altcoins as well. They are just stupid undervalued right now. So with that being said, you can buy a bunch right now, and once the market's stupid overvalued, you can start scaling out, taking profits. But nobody knows, with targets, nobody knows, as much as people don't want to hear this, nobody knows exactly what price anything is going to go to. You can get an estimation, and sometimes those estimations can be highly accurate. Like I was calling for $5,000 per ounce of gold for years now. Called for $200 plus per ounce on silver for a long time. We already hit over 100 per ounce. So like I've been calling for over 100K per Bitcoin since 2017. So you can get a pretty good idea of where price could go. And I actually have an even higher target for Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin, for me, Bitcoin is going to go over $250,000. It's pretty clear to me that we're going to have a run on Bitcoin to over 250,000 per coin. Silver hit 120, hasn't hit 200 yet. In the big picture, I think it definitely could, but I was calling for a new all-time high on silver back here. So you can get a pretty good idea, but you can't just be like, okay, Bitcoin's going to top out at 170,000 per coin at this day. You know, that's not what technical analysis is about. Some people have used certain strategies to get pretty close with some of their predictions, but that's not what it's about. What technical analysis is about is saying, this is a good opportunity to buy. I'm going to scale in to the market. And once we're overvalued and it's clear that people are being euphoric and greedy and we're pumping really hard, then you can scale out. That's what it's about, not exact targets. So just important to understand that, you know. I appreciate the question, but you have to have that kind of an understanding of markets, or you're going to have a lot of headache trying to predict like exact connections between certain coins at prices and stuff, which really is not very feasible to do. Let's see here. Litecoin, Doge, and Link, please. Sure, I'll do that. So let's pull up some Dogecoin here first. Doge is so obvious. Like, it's the simplest. This is exactly like AVAX. Like, it's like a perfect market cycle here on Dogecoin. Let's pull it up here and we'll do some analysis. So let's just pull up Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like the best example of this. So we'll just use the Bitcoin chart. So if you go back to 2017 and 2018, 2019, and 2020 for Bitcoin, you see like what a market cycle looks like what the psychology of a market cycle looks like. So let's drop down to the 15-day time frame, and then let's increase Dogecoin to like at least, you know, the 15-day time frame as well. And if you look here at Bitcoin on the right and Dogecoin over here on the left, you get a pretty good understanding of what the market looks like when you have a perfect market cycle. Now, sometimes you don't get as pronounced of a double bottom like this. Like if you go look at Ethereum in 2018 and 2019 and 2020, it did a little bit of a double bottom, but it wasn't super pronounced like what we see here with Bitcoin, right? Big, huge, very pronounced double bottom before the price of Bitcoin went all the way to a new all-time high. Just super clear, super easy to see. Big double bottom. In the case of Dogecoin, we really have the same thing. We have a big pronounced double bottom here on Doge. This is the same thing that happened right here. The exact same thing that happened right here on Bitcoin. So that's what a market cycle looks like. You have a big pump in the market, big pullback, big double bottom, and sometimes it's less pronounced, like with Ethereum, it looked something more like that in 2019 and 2018 and 2020. But in the case of Dogecoin, it's really following a lot more like Bitcoin, when Bitcoin did its market cycle in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 as well. So it's the same exact thing. So really, what we're expecting here on Dogecoin, and what anybody that tells you anything other than the fact that Dogecoin is in disbelief, doesn't have a correct understanding of market cycles. Because this is the most obvious, like a child could see this. Like you could be a 5-year-old kid, and if you learned the basics of market cycles and you were zoomed out on the right time frame, you would see this. Like it's so stupidly easy to see. Like look at that. It's exactly the same. But people don't know what they're doing. A lot of people don't understand cycles. A lot of people have married the 4-year cycle. A lot of people have ideas about the psychology of the market, about where we're at in terms of the cycle, and they do not have a correct understanding of where we're at. So a lot of people are making some really dumb choices with their crypto. Can you imagine selling your Bitcoin at 3,000 per coin right here, just under 4K, like 3,800, before Bitcoin went to 69,000 per coin? But yet people are doing the same thing with their favorite altcoins. They're selling. Like, are you serious? Have you guys not zoomed out and looked at the freaking charts to see what's actually happening? Or are you just trading because everybody's scared? Because people think that we're going into a massive bear market that's going to last multiple years? Like, come on, people. It's not that hard. You do have to have the right information. You do have to know what a market cycle is. You do have to know how to click this button up here that changes time frames so you can go to a bigger freaking time frame. But you don't have to be a genius. You could be a 5-year-old kid and do this and have a correct understanding about where we're at in the cycle. But most people aren't like that. Most people are so egotistical. Most adults have more mental baggage than a child does. So they don't see things as they should. But whatever, people have their own free will and they can choose to do whatever they want with it. But it's so easy to see. It's so easy. The Dogecoin is in the disbelief phase of the cycle, just exactly like Bitcoin was in March of 2020. It's like the most obvious thing ever. But whatever. People will be people. Let's pull up AVAX here. Okay. Same with AVAX, just to bring home this point about cycles. And this is the exact same thing that I talked about in my last live stream. But a whole bunch of people went and panic sold and flipped bearish since my last live stream. A whole bunch of people decided that they're going to be dumb and do the wrong thing. But AVAX is at the same point in its cycle as well. Like, look at that. It's so obvious. AVAX, or even the internet bubble. Okay, let's pull up the internet bubble. Same exact thing. Look, here's the internet bubble on the right. Here's AVAX on the left. So if you want to make money in these markets, go all in. Like seriously, buy as much crypto as you can humanly possibly buy. Because we're in extreme fear. We're at the best possible point to be buying altcoins. We're at the best possible point to be buying Bitcoin. It's so clearly an opportunity. The only people that are misinformed or full of ego are going to miss this chance to buy crypto. It's crazy. Let's see. You wanted me to cover Link as well. Is that what it was? Dogecoin, Litecoin, and Link. Okay, let's pull up Link here. Chainlink is the same thing, you guys. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand where Chainlink is at in its cycle. But it does take a small degree of humility, which for some reason some people cannot muster up. But if you look right here, notice how the NASDAQ over here made a higher low in its double bottom formation after its first big pump and pullback. That's exactly what Chainlink is doing right now. The bottom, when I say the bottom is in, I'm not just saying that to get clicks on my channel. Like, I am doing that as well, but it's totally because this market's gonna pump so freaking hard, it's stupid. You know? I wouldn't be doing these live streams. I wouldn't have been making content about this if I didn't really believe in it. Because I agree with William Shakespeare that you to thine own self be true, and it will follow from the night to the day that thou canst then be false to anyone. And so I believe in the principle of being true to yourself and other people. And that's exactly what we have here in the markets, is a perfect buying opportunity. And I'm going to be true to that 100% because it's so obvious. So yeah, Chainlink is in the same point. Litecoin is a little bit of a different accumulation than what we see with Dogecoin, with AVAX, with Chainlink, but it's still in the same point of its cycle, technically. It's like a perfect opportunity to buy Litecoin. I've shared this fractal 100 times too, but it's the one fractal that you need to know to be able to trade Litecoin successfully. To be a successful trader and investor in Litecoin in this up and coming bull market for crypto. This right here is NVIDIA during a big multi-year, we're talking 8-year plus accumulation. And here's a big multi-year accumulation on Litecoin as well. And it is the same thing. Obviously, we always use that little phrase that history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So yeah, if we zoom into the chart, you could go cherry pick differences, but it's a rhyme of the same thing. It's a pattern repeating in the market that will make you successful, that will make you a profitable trader, to be looking at this. Buying Litecoin right now is like buying Litecoin or buying NVIDIA right here. It's the same exact thing. Crazy, right? Perfect, just total opportunity to make a bunch of money on Litecoin. It's worth $54. Do you guys realize that if you take a trend line going back over to the lowest points on Litecoin, we're at the very bottom of the most undervalued we've been on Litecoin over the past 8 years. We hit that same point where we're the most undervalued on Litecoin over the past 8 years. That's exactly like putting a trend line here on NVIDIA down here and buying every time the price goes to the bottom of that trend line. Crypto is undervalued in a super significant way. Extremely significant way. Let's pull up, you had one other coin. No, I did Dogecoin, Litecoin, and Link. So I believe that's all of the coins that you wanted me to cover today. Let's see. We will see soon enough. I still think we have some more sideways and downside. Hopefully that you're right. Nobody has a crystal ball. You know, nobody does have a crystal ball, but you know what the big institutions do have? Exactly what I'm showing you. This is what they're looking at. I learned from people that were taught by institutional traders, people that use the same stuff that big institutions use. So this is the exact same thing. I can promise you that this is what the big institutions are looking at. So yeah, nobody has a crystal ball, but most people are not looking at this, and this is what the people that know what's going to happen are looking at. And I don't really like that phrase either, because it's almost like, oh, it's impossible to predict markets, which is not true. If it was impossible to predict markets, you wouldn't have so many people on Wall Street, so many people at the highest levels of trading and investing. Warren Buffett even though he's a fundamental analyst, he makes his investing decisions based on technical analysis. So at the highest levels of trading and investing, big Wall Street firms, these people, whenever they're getting ready to press that sell button or press that buy button, they're using technical analysis. So it is 100% possible to predict markets. Otherwise, people with billions of dollars would not be using it to do it successfully. Dom says, I've been down since I started. Well, you probably just got in at a bad time. Don't be afraid. Crypto is going to pump so hard that if you feel like you're down right now, you will have the opportunity to make all of that back and more. Hey, Dallin, do we have any more downside on ADA, Zen, and Stark? No. Let's pull up Zen here. I get kind of mad when people do dumb stuff. Just because, like, the thing is it's such a good opportunity that it's, like, painful to be watching people doing the wrong thing, you know? Like, if you've done this for long enough and you see what the intelligent investors are doing in the market, and then you see everybody doing exactly opposite of that, it's a little bit painful to watch. But whatever. At this point, I'm used to it. I've been doing this for 9 years now. So, all right, let's pull up Litecoin on the right and keep Zen over here on the left. Pull up Litecoin on Bitfinex if we can find it. The Litecoin Bitfinex chart is always kind of tricky to find here. But I'll find it. Just give me just a second here. Because there's all these other ones right here, but those are like longs and shorts, and it's not like the actual chart. So you kind of have to funnel through these a little bit before it pops up. Where are you? I know you're in here somewhere. Litecoin USD. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. You know what Zen is doing right now, Horizon? A perfect altcoin accumulation. So if you look at Litecoin on the right and you look at Horizon over here on the left, this is the same thing. This is the exact same pattern of human psychology playing out in the market. So buying altcoins right now is exactly the same as buying altcoins in 2016 before the 2017 parabolic run happened. When we had a big parabolic run in 2017, all the way up to $360 per Litecoin, and other altcoins went totally crazy, total altcoin bull market. A lot of altcoins are doing a very, very, very similar accumulation, or if they're not doing this accumulation, that are doing a different type of accumulation, which is equally as bullish. But looking right here at Litecoin on the right and Horizon over here on the left, you will see the exact same pattern of human emotion. Buying Horizon down here at $6 is exactly like buying Litecoin right here in 2016 before it went all the way to the moon. It's just as undervalued, just as good of an opportunity, just as many people think it's going to go for a bear market forever as Litecoin back here in 2016 before the 2017 bull market happened. So this is like so awesome. It's like so cool that we have this opportunity on Horizon. Now, what are the other coins that you requested as well? STRK, similar kind of thing. Look at this chart. Let's pull up STRK here. Look at this chart. So undervalued. Totally a good opportunity at 5 cents. Or look at Trump, okay? I know some of you guys don't like Donald Trump, but who cares? All right? Trump is the same thing. Buying Trump right now is such a good entry. Let's pull up Trump on the on the daily time frame. Buying Trump right now is such a good entry. It's ridiculous. It is so good. It's worth $3. You realize this thing was worth $76. If you guys wanted to call for a bear market, you should have been calling for one up here. Not now. You're totally out of touch with reality if you're calling for a bear market down here. Worst place to call for a bear market. Let's see here. Same true, by the way, for ADA. You know, you wanted me to cover ADA as well. Same thing is true. If we pull up ADA here, it's the exact same thing, okay? If you look at ADA, ADA did a big double bottom. This is the same thing as what we've been talking about with like AVAX and with Dogecoin. Very similar sort of thing. So let's pull up Bitcoin on the right, okay? And we'll keep AVAX or Cardano over here on the left. Same thing, okay? Big pump, big pullback, big double bottom. This point on Cardano right here is the same as buying Bitcoin right here. It's the same exact thing. Well, I shouldn't say that because the difference is that here with Cardano is worth 22 cents right now. You guys do realize that the percentage gain from 22 cents to a new all-time high, you're talking about being able to make 30, 40 times your money. Whereas Bitcoin, let's see what the percentage gain on Bitcoin was from the bottom up. 15 times your money from the disbelief phase to the next all-time high before a bear market happened. So you're talking about 15x here on Bitcoin, whereas Cardano will give you 30x or more when it pumps. Crazy. Totally crazy. So this is what you guys have to be focused on. Like, seriously, stop listening to all of the people that are telling you a bear market is coming. These people are totally out of touch with reality. It's ridiculous. Lost 95%, but still bought going down. You know, that can happen. I've had times where I bought something, lost 90% plus of my investment, then went all the way to a new all-time high, and I ended up in profit. So it's totally part of trading and investing to have those types of things happen sometimes. Obviously, it's better to scale in instead of buy all at once, you know. But if you're down 90%, most people are down 90% on all of their coins. You know, AVAX is down, or Cardano is down, AVAX too, but Cardano is down 92% from its peak. That's not a time to be taking big picture short sells or to be selling your crypto. If you study every single altcoin cycle that's ever happened in the past, you're going to find that a 90+% correction is the name of the game for altcoins. This is what they do. Look at Ethereum here in 2018. Ethereum fell 94%, 93% from its peak down. So this is what altcoins do in the big picture. And you don't want to be the person that's selling or calling for a bear market at the bottom of that type of a correction. You don't want to be that guy. That person does not do well. If you have time, can you please look at the PLSX chart? Which Richard Hart assets are the most undervalued? Sure. Let's pull up the PLSX chart here. Do a little, oh, it's up 24 or 10% in the last 24 hours. That's good. So this is PulseX on PulseChain. This looks good too. This looks really good. So here's a big downward trending resistance line that we actually broke out up above right here for a minute. then came back down and tested as support. So if you ever have a big downward trending resistance line, watch for something like this. Watch for a bullish break and a pull back down to support. And it can even go to a lower point on that trend line and then recover like this. That's very typical market behavior. But that downward trending resistance line, the breakout up above, the retest of that level, very bullish. Also, the first thing that you learn about volume when you're learning how to trade and invest is that downward trending volume and downward trending price is actually bullish. So as counterintuitive as it sounds, except in the case of like a capitulation spike, like what we just saw in Bitcoin, where we had a big spike in volume, that can signal a bottom as well. But most of the time, in these big accumulations, what you have is downward trending price and downward trending volume. And then what happens is you have a big breakout because that's actually bullish. If you let me pull up my trading patterns here. So here's the volume rules of analysis. Declining price and volume going down is a sign of market strength, not weakness, market strength. So what we see here with PulseX, is a perfect downward trending price and downward trending volume. That's a big buy signal here for this coin. Let's take all the drawing tools off as well. This is also a big accumulation. You know, you're talking sideways price action within a range, bit of a triangle shape, just like what we see on PulseChain. This is a big picture accumulation for PulseX. That's what it is. A big triangle. Big wedge, big triangle, same thing. So to have downward trending price and volume, what we're going to see is we're going to see a break of this range followed by an increase in volume like this, and that will signal the beginning of a bull market. This didn't happen so it could just go down forever. This happened so the price could accumulate so that it could be within a range for a big breakout to occur, because you have to have some type of accumulation pattern in order for a breakout to occur, unless it's a brand new coin and just gets added and pumps right away, like what we saw right here, right? When it first got added, it just pumped. But in terms of these big picture cycles, you're going to have some type of a market cycle, some type of an accumulation, something that leads to a big picture pump in the market. And that's exactly what we see here with PulseX. Another thing too, what are the most undervalued Richard Hart ecosystem coins? I like Teddy Bear a lot. So let's pull up Teddy Bear here. Let's go to the daily. This isn't the right one. It's just Bear, not Teddy. There we go. This is the right one. And what's crazy is about the Richard Hart ecosystem. These coins have actually quite a bit of volume. Like, these are doing better volume than a lot of meme coins are. You know, you're talking about $30,000 in volume in the past 24 hours for this thing, and it's just a meme coin in the Richard Hart ecosystem. So there's actually quite a bit of volume in this whole Richard Hart ecosystem. But essentially, this is the bottom of an ABC correction. So A, B, and C. So this is extremely undervalued, very, very dirt cheap down here. Let's pull up the NASDAQ Composite Index. So here is, let's see, there we go. So here's a pretty typical correction, right? If you want to learn about market cycles, go study what happened during the internet bubble. And then you're going to find a perfect example of what we see over and over again in these markets. So this is exactly, by the way, even though a little bit of a different thing leading up to the pump and the correction, this ABC correction is the same thing that the NASDAQ did in terms of market psychology. See that? Now, in this case, we didn't have as pronounced of a double bottom here. Like the double bottom on the NASDAQ was like this, right? Whereas the double bottom on this is more subtle. This is a lot more like what happened to Ethereum. Like if you pull up Ethereum and look at the double bottom on Ethereum, you're going to see a lot more like what I'm talking about here. See this? Big ABC correction. Not a very pronounced double bottom, just a little one, just a little baby, you know, before the big pump came in the market. Okay. So when I think of really undervalued Richard Heart ecosystem coins, Teddy Bear is like one of the classic meme coins in this ecosystem. You also have PTGC. A lot of stuff very undervalued in the meme coin world. And meme coins are essentially like leverage trading whatever coin. So like if you're invested in PulseChain, buying meme coins in the PulseChain ecosystem is basically like being able to take a leveraged position on PulseChain without being able to get liquidated. But if you're wrong, it just the price goes down a lot more than PulseChain would, right? So it's just leverage. But if you're right, the price goes up a lot more than what PulseChain would as well. So this is one of the coins that I think of when I think of undervalued, you know, any of those meme coins. Because here's the thing, PulseChain is going to pump, it's going to break out in a big way. So buying these undervalued meme coins, super smart to do that. That's like buying PulseChain, but you're going to make a bigger percentage gain. So that's what I think of. PTGC, Teddy Bear, those are a couple that are definitely worth putting some capital into in this ecosystem. Let's see here. He might be, but I haven't experienced it price-wise yet. I'm still a Richard Heart believer. You know, I really see a big pump coming. This whole new ecosystem, you have to understand, when Richard Heart released his Hex on Ethereum, it was right before one of the biggest altcoin bubbles ever. So we had a big altcoin bubble. And so EHEX pumped really hard in connection to the bull market that was going on at that time. And that was actually one of the calls that I made as well. If you guys see on my X account here, I posted about Hex when it was virtually worthless before it pumped all the way up to an all-time high and just went crazy, right? But the reason I saw that was because the whole altcoin bull market was just starting. It was super undervalued at the time, and we were headed into a big, crazy bull market. This recent Richard Heart ecosystem with like PulseChain and all of that stuff, that came out in a lot smaller of an altcoin bull market. So we did see a pump on some of this stuff like Teddy Bear. We saw some pumps in the Richard Heart ecosystem. But until we go into the full-blown altcoin bull market, you're not going to see PulseChain pump like as hard as it did when EHEX pumped in 2021. But that's what we're going into. That's what we're headed into. So basically, Bitcoin dominance is falling off a cliff, okay? Bitcoin dominance looks terrible. If you look at Bitcoin dominance right now, it looks just terrible. If you pull this up here, Bitcoin dominance is clearly rejecting, clearly pulling back here off of a big rising wedge. So this is the same type of thing that happened right here when Bitcoin dominance topped out right here. So we're headed into another big altcoin bull market. So all of the stuff that you guys have been waiting for, like Litecoin versus Bitcoin, for example, crazy bullish. Look at this chart. Litecoin versus Bitcoin, if you zoom out on this thing looks so bullish, it's ridiculous. Okay, and this is on Coinbase. Let's pull it up on like Bitfinex, for example. Look how bullish this looks. This is so undervalued, Litecoin versus Bitcoin. This is so dirt cheap down here. So we're talking about a big altcoin bull market coming in a very profound way. Even bigger in a lot of ways than what 2017 was, where we did have a pump on Litecoin versus Bitcoin, but it wasn't that big of a pump, you know. But this is a big, huge triangle over multiple years. So the pump, it's not that Bitcoin won't go up, because it will, but the pump that we're about to have on altcoins, totally insane. Massive pump on altcoins. So a lot of the stuff that you guys have been waiting for, like a big pump on PulseChain, a big pump on, whatever coins you're invested in. I know a lot of you guys aren't invested in Richard Hart coins. Some of you guys are just invested in like Litecoin or AVAX or whatever. But a lot of the big pumps that you've been waiting for are coming. Like the charts are telling us that. You can see it. This is a big falling wedge pattern here on Litecoin that we actually broke bullish out of. This is a huge bullish pattern on Litecoin versus Bitcoin that's going to lead to a big parabolic run in a very profound way. So yeah, it's a good time to be buying everything, really. I would say buy more altcoins than Bitcoin for sure. But Bitcoin is going to pump really hard too, because it's basically like the S&P 500 of crypto. It needs to be in a bull market for the rest of crypto to pump, but it's never going to give you the same percentage gain as buying tech stocks. But that's how crypto is. Bitcoin needs to be in a bull market for altcoins to pump, but it's never going to give you the same percentage gain as buying altcoins will. Hey, could you look at PDGC? It looks like it. Do I see it going lower? No, I don't see it going lower. So let's pull it up here. PTGC. It's the same thing as last time. I don't remember if you were the one that requested this last time. But most of the time, 90% of altcoins will bottom 90% down from their peak after an ABC correction, which ends up being pretty much a 92% fib retracement or somewhere around there, right? And that's exactly what we see here with PDGC. PTGC is a big parabolic run, a big ABC correction, right down to the 92% retracement, which is over 90% down from its peak. So this is so good of a buying opportunity. This is like buying Ethereum in terms of being undervalued or overvalued in its cycle. This is like buying Ethereum down here after the 2018 bear market, right? Where Ethereum saw a bear market in 2018, pulled down 94% from the peak and did an ABC correction here. So in terms of where it's at in the cycle, very similar to buying Ethereum down here at $88 before Ethereum pumped all the way to a new all-time high and went up to $4,700 per coin. And I also saw a request to cover Ethereum. So Ethereum is basically in a big accumulation pattern here. This is all a big accumulation. So all of this right here is an accumulation to lead into a big bull market. So a break above our old all-time high right here is coming for Ethereum. We already kind of broke a little bit above right here, but of course people got excited. We got a big rejection. But this whole pattern right here is a big accumulation leading up to a new all-time high on Ethereum. So you're talking about Ethereum going up over 4,800 per coin, all the way up to a new all-time high. And what's kind of showing us this is a big, huge accumulation structure for Ethereum, right? It's moving inside of a big range from our peaks to our lows. Like you can take our peaks up here and our lows down here. We're moving inside of a big trading range here. So this is really just a big accumulation before a big pump. Kind of similar to like what happened over here. If we pull into Ethereum on early day Ethereum, Ethereum also did kind of a similar thing right here. Okay. Where Ethereum was moving sideways inside of a big range like this. Up and down inside of that range before it finally broke free of that range and went all the way to the moon. Straight up all the way to a new all-time high. So that's really what Ethereum is doing all over again in just a bigger way. It's the same type of structure in terms of a big trading range in preparation for a big run when we break bullish out of this range. And by the way, we're nearing the bottom of the range. So this, if you know anything about trading ranges, you definitely don't want to sell at the bottom of a trading range. You want to be buying the bottom of those trading ranges and selling at the top of those trading ranges. So that looks pretty good as well to see that on Ethereum. Love your take on crypto and the charts bullish. Well, thank you. And they are super bullish, and I see a lot of big things coming for these markets that I'm super excited about. And it's going to be really fun this coming year. 2026, we're just getting started. Most people think 2026 is going to be super bearish, but everybody thought 2025 was going to be super bullish. So if you think about that for a minute, then it will give you a lot better idea of what's coming for crypto this year. It's going to be crazy bullish. It's crazy that you can say that with a straight face. Well, you know, it's crazy that you can come in here and just say mean things and not even care. So, whatever. I say this stuff with a straight face because I actually believe it, dude. Now, go find someone else to watch if you don't care about my analysis. Love your take on crypto and... Oh, I read that one. You are the best... One of the best people on crypto Twitter and YouTube, hands down. Well, thank you, Eric. I genuinely appreciate that, man. What's up with SHIB? I'm losing my patience. Let's pull up SHIB anew and check this thing out. SHIB did the same thing that I've been teaching about these big double bottoms. Just like with AVAX, you know, same type of thing here with SHIB, really. And by the way, the double bottom can go a little bit lower. Like in this case, we have a slightly lower low than right here. We made a slightly lower low here. That can happen sometimes too as well. But basically a market cycle looks like this. Big pump, big pullback, double bottom like this, which sometimes can go slightly lower, and then a big pump like that. That's what a market cycle looks like. So that's what we see here with SHIB. Big pump, big pullback, big double bottom. This is the worst place to sell. That's like selling right here, or right here in terms of a market cycle. Perfect time to buy. Yeah, it can be easy to lose your patience with these types of big accumulations that seem like they're taking forever. But there's two ways that whales take your money, with time and with price. They either make it seem like it's never going to happen, and it takes so long for it to pump that you give up on it. This is, by the way, what happened to XRP when XRP was going sideways forever. Or they make it go down so far that you give up because the price is so low that you never think it's possible for it to break out all the way to a new all-time high again. Most of the time they do both. And here in the case of XRP, just as an example, because I know we were looking at SHIB there, but let's pull up XRP here and look at XRP. This is what they did with XRP, right? XRP fell over 90% from its peak. Then look how long this thing went sideways before it finally pumped. Crazy long time, you know? 2,000 days before it pumped up to a new all-time high again. How many people do you think gave up on XRP all through this whole period? There was court cases, there was a whole bunch of stuff. Most everybody gave up on XRP because it took so long and because the price was down 90% from its peak. But because of market cycle analysis, up here, big pump, big pullback, big pump, big pullback. What was I just saying about a market cycle looking like this? Right? I stayed bullish. I kept making a bunch of bullish videos on XRP all through this whole area because I knew that it was at the very bottom of its cycle in a big accumulation, getting ready to do exactly like what Bitcoin did in 2021, right? Like if we pull up the Bitcoin chart here. This is what I was comparing XRP to. You can go watch the videos that I was making during this period of time in 2024. I was comparing XRP to Bitcoin right here because it really actually looked very similar to me, you know? big pump, big pullback, big double bottom. And I knew that right here was going to break out again, just like how Bitcoin did. Big pump, big pullback, big pump, big pullback. Right? Same thing. Same chart. Same exact thing. And now actually XRP is doing an expanded flat correction. So this is an A wave right here, a B wave right here, and a C wave right here. So that's an expanded flat correction on XRP. That's the exact same thing that the S&P 500 did in 2008. Let's pull up the S&P 500 here and zoom in. This is an expanded flat correction on the S&P right here. And here's an expanded flat correction on XRP. So expanded flat, S&P, expanded flat on XRP. Same thing. So this is why it's like so painful to watch people sell. Imagine if you understood. So I didn't know about technical analysis in 2008. I was just a youngin'. I was this little kid basically, because I'm only 28. So I was like basically like a little, like I was pretty young in 2008, right? But imagine understanding technical analysis and watching all of your friends panic sell their stocks in 2008 and 2009, the best possible time to buy before a big parabolic run. That's exactly how I feel about people selling their crypto right now. I'm like, dude, like I'm literally just trying to look out for you, bro. And you're trying to sell down here. Like, come on. But imagine how much bearish news there was in 2008 and 2009 about the stock market. So you have to understand this stuff. And I want you guys to start dreaming. Start dreaming about what your life will look like if you had X amount of money. Let's say you had $1 million, okay? Because when this market turns around, a lot of you guys will have 100K, 200K, $1 million extra that you don't even know what to do with. So take some time and start dreaming. What would your life look like? What would your life look like if you didn't have any debt? What would your life look like if you had the home that you want? What would your life look like if you had, you know, the time to travel and not have to work all the time? Like, start thinking like that, because a lot of you guys are going to be able to do that. But not if you panic sell like everybody that panic sold their stocks here in 2008 and 2009. The people that bought the dip right there, look how much money they made off the pump that came afterwards. This is why you don't watch the news or the media, because they will tell you to do the exact opposite of what you should be doing with your money. Most of the time. Sometimes they're right, occasionally, but for the most part they're wrong. So anyways, just keep your focus on what's important, you guys. Because some big things are coming in these markets, and if you keep your focus on what's important in the big picture, you'll be all right. You'll make good money, but not if you guys panic sell down here at the perfect time to be buying. Perfect opportunity to be buying. XRP looks so much like the S&P right here. It's crazy. Crazy how good of an opportunity this is. I actually want to see something just out of curiosity. What level did the S&P bottom at? 618? I bet we're pretty close to the 618 on XRP here. Yep, we're pretty close. Right between the 618 and the 786, which is basically what the S&P 500 did right here as well. It dropped almost halfway through. And XRP dropped about halfway through as well. Between the 618 and 786. So that's pretty cool to see that. Pretty good. In fact, this actually can go like right here, and this can go like right here, because that's a little bit more accurate. But yeah, you guys get the point. Zero reason to be holding SHIB over massive over other meme coins. You know, there's still pretty good volume about SHIB. There's pretty good volume about like a lot of meme coins right now happening for a lot of meme coins. So don't be afraid to be buying meme coins, like whether it's SHIB, whether it's Dogecoin. Don't be afraid to be buying those. They're really in a good place in terms of their cycle. I do hope the crash is over, but I think it probably is. Yeah, I think it will be too. It really looks like it's going to be. Did we, let's see here. Tech dude, I'm trying to understand what you mean here. Did we mistime the market? If you're buying right now, you didn't mistime the market. Or if you're holding on, you're not mistiming the market. If you're selling, if you're getting out, if you're believing all the people that are bearish, then yeah, you're mistiming this market. But it's it's such a good time to buy. It's ridiculous. Like, look again at the fear and greed. Extreme fear. We haven't been this low since the bottom of the entire crypto markets and well, not on some altcoins, but in the case of Bitcoin, because this is what this really represents is Bitcoin mainly. At the bottom in 2022, when Bitcoin was worth 16,000 per coin, we weren't even that oversold. At that time, I guess we were number 6, whereas right now we're number 9. So we're just as undervalued as we were right here. Like, look at Bitcoin here. If you look at Bitcoin right here, at this bottom right here, at 15K, before this whole big run happened all the way up to 126, that's when the fear and greed index was a 6. And we're a 9 right now. This is like the people that are trying to take shorts down here or sell are totally out of touch with reality. And it's just the truth. Whether you like it or not, it's just the truth. BCH. Okay, I'm going to do BCH and then we'll call it a day. I'll probably maybe play my guitar a little bit because you guys have requested in the chat for me to do that as well. But let's pull up BCH here. BCH looks so good, you guys. Let's just isolate this chart only. BCH, Coinbase. Zoom out all the way here in the big picture for this coin. Stretch it out a little bit, stretch the chart. First of all, this is the same type of accumulation that Litecoin did as well. So let's pull up Litecoin, and then we'll talk about BCH as well. On its own, just isolated. But if you look right here, this is really the same type of thing Litecoin did. Like, here's Litecoin's first accumulation ever. This is Bitcoin Cash's first accumulation ever. Like, yeah, we had a pump in 2017, but that was only part of a bigger accumulation pattern forming on BCH. And if you look at BCH right now, it's so much like Litecoin right here. It's the same type of thing. You even have this little pump right here that also happened on BCH. It's the same type of thing, the same type of accumulation. So buying Bitcoin Cash is basically like buying Litecoin at like $3 before Litecoin went all the way up to 360 in terms of where it's at in its accumulation and in terms of the type of percentage gain and profitability that you'll see in this coin. The other thing too is if you look at BCH here in the big picture on the logarithmic chart, this thing broke bullish out of this huge downward trending line right here and came back down and tested it as support. So that's a typical breakout retest of this big, huge, essentially this is just a big triangle on BCH, right? Big, huge triangle pattern. We broke bullish out of that triangle and came and tested the top of it as support. So that's like a classic breakout retest here with BCH. This looks really good. This looks amazing to see that type of structure in the market. So I'm really bullish on BCH all the way up to a new all-time high for this coin. So cool. That is my analysis for the day. Hope you guys are staying profitable, staying bullish. A lot of people aren't. You should probably stick to your thesis, especially in extreme fear. You know, don't switch to a bear now if you're going to. But I'll play the guitar. I had someone request at the beginning of the stream that I play the guitar. And yeah, it'll be fun. Pull my guitar. lyrics here. This is basically what I do, except for crypto, is I play my guitar with my friends. Like I play guitar. I'm learning bass guitar right now. It's actually pretty awesome. Let's see here. Here comes the moon. So if you guys know about the Beatles, which all of you guys should if you don't, what's actually crazy is I'm distantly related to John Lennon. Isn't that kind of crazy? But yeah, we've got Here Comes the Moon. This is my crypto remix of Here Comes the Sun. And yeah, here we go. Was here. Here comes the moon. Here comes the moon. And I say it's alright. Here comes the moon. Here comes the moon. And I say it's alright. It's alright. I forgot to sing the second verse on accident, but there's my remix of Here Comes the Sun for you guys. Here comes the moon, baby. That's really how I feel about crypto. Seriously. Check this out, all right? We'll do one more song for you. This is actually, so when I first started learning the guitar, the reason I did was because of this blind guy. So there was this guy on YouTube that was blind. I always forget his name. But he was playing this song called Malagueña, this Spanish kind of just awesome sounding song. I was like 11 or 12. My dad would play guitar to me growing up, like when I was really young, before I'd go to bed. But this guy was like the first guy to really inspire me to learn to play the guitar. So watching his video about the song Malagueña, I was like, that's the first song I'm gonna learn. So here we go. So that's Malaguena. If I can learn how to play the guitar, anybody can, but especially if a blind person can learn how to play the guitar, then anybody can, right? That was my thinking. So that's kind of why I started to learn how to play the guitar. But hey, I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's live stream. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something, found value in it. If you did, please share this with your friends. They need to know that this is not the time to be selling your crypto in extreme fear. It's so obvious. Don't sell here. You know, it's just a bad place to sell. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos and in future live streams. And as always, stay profitable out there.